Hello Spooky Boos, and welcome back to today's second episode of Scary Southern Storytime. I am your host, author and storyteller, word witch extraordinaire, Laura Holt, and I am here to bring you another story from Southern folklore. Now today's story is one that I experienced for myself. It originates in the town that I grew up in, a small town in southern Georgia. And it comes with a lot of twists and turns, some slightly graphic images, if animals being hurt, like you see animals being hurt, if anything like that bothers you, ghosts, possession type things, if any of that bothers you, those are the trigger warnings for this video. Please don't watch, skip it, and move on, but otherwise, let's go. So in the town that I grew up, like many southern towns, there is a lot of dark Civil War history. And I would like to go ahead and put a disclaimer in this that I in no way support what the Civil War was about from the southern perspective. I believe in freedom for all peoples. Everyone, this is a safe space for you. If you do not support those views, please do not bully in the comments. We don't do bullying. You will be blocked. You will be deleted. So with that being said, obviously the Civil War is going to come up in Southern videos, but again, I do not believe in what the South fought for. I am firmly for freedom for all peoples and equal rights for all people, regardless of their race, sex, nationality, orientation, anything. You should receive the same rights as everybody else. So as I said, with this being a small town in Georgia, obviously there was a lot of Civil War fighting, a lot of Sherman's March from Atlanta, things like that, smaller battles happened here. And so along with that dark history and along with that bloody battle type stuff that you hear, ghosts on the battlefield, yada yada, they built a large hospital in the town to help house some of the Civil War soldiers. Women volunteered as nurses, that type of thing. And so there was a lot of trauma in the building from the get-go. It was built in a time when there wasn't really a lot of things that you could do for someone who was injured in battle medically. Traumatic amputations, those kind of psychic vibrations linger in the walls. Many people lost their lives within the walls of that hospital. After the Civil War was over, and the North won, there was really no need for the hospital to act in that capacity anymore. So there is a gap in the records. I'm not sure if it was actually closed, or if it operated in a regular capacity, but I do know that after several years, it was reopened as a mental institution. And if you have done any reading or if you know anything about mental institutions back in the day, they were not the best of places. You did not want to be in a mental hospital back in the early 1900s. You did not. 1800s. I always get that wrong. What are centuries? I think we're a year behind. Anyway, I am an author, not a mathematician. But anyway, you did not want to be in a mental institution. Regardless of your sex, but especially if you were a woman. Women during that time were institutionalized for everything from saying no to their husband, to having migraines, to not being able to conceive children, to menstrual cramps, to, yelling or speaking out in public, or heck, even dressing the wrong way. You could be institutionalized for anything under the guise of hysteria. Which is not a thing, but back then it was considered a medical term. It was considered a mental disease. Hysteria in women was a thing. So you did not want to be institutionalized. You pretty much weren't going to get out. There was no, 5-year plan, 3-step program. that you were going to be able to follow, nobody to help you understand why you felt the way you did or why you had the symptoms. They were mostly there to treat and shut you up and keep you away from polite society. And their treatments were extremely horrific. Everything from drug-induced fits, to lobotomies, to shock therapy, to cold water therapy, isolation that would effectively drive you insane, even if you weren't insane going in the door. So with that being said, those are two extremely traumatic things to happen within the walls of a building in a short span of a century. After the mental institution was shut down, the hospital was, for a short period of time, the hospital in town. My uncle was actually born there. So it was a normal hospital under normal operating procedures until a series of strange events kind of forced them to close the doors and reopen in a newer building about 5 minutes down the road that is still in operation today, where my daughter was born. Now, so the strange events, according to things that I was able to find, articles and things from back then in our town's archives in the library, were, you know, what you would expect from hauntings: lights turning on and off, doors shutting, things being moved, strange sounds coming from hallways and patients' rooms, shadowy apparitions, footsteps, chains rattling, things going missing, but nothing really violent, just kind of, you know, lingering, unsettled presences. Sorry, I'm doing this in the dining room because we're in the process of painting my office, which I'm sure you saw the walls in the last video, and it still smells in there. But there's like all these little blackbirds in my yard, and they're like everywhere, and I have no idea what they are, but I'm very fascinated. Hi, birds. But anyway, back to the story. So, long story short, they shut the hospital down. They moved to the new building, but they didn't tear it down. They just kind of closed it. And it just sat empty for years and years and years and years, until Enter the World me, and, you know, I get to be a teenager, able, you know, to drive, and I hear all these stories growing up, and, you know, it becomes kind of a thing in town, because in the South, what do you really have to do but dare your friends to enter a haunted hospital? It's like a rite of passage in high school. And so, I mean, it was one of those things, where you would go into the haunted hospital at night and and see what you could see. So I don't remember if I was 17 or 18, but my senior year rolled around and I had a car, and me and my friends decided that we were going to visit the haunted hospital and take my video camera and make a video, and see if we caught any ghosts on camera. It was like Ghost Hunters Anonymous or whatever, I don't know, we thought we were. But anyway, so we all meet up at the hospital, and everybody knew where you went in. The windows were mostly boarded up, but there was one place where you could get in through a door that wasn't locked. So, you know, we went inside, and it's dark. It's at night. We have our flashlights. This is before cell phones. This is before any of that. I mean, you were cool if you had a cordless phone in your room. Forget a cell phone. So we had our video camera, my video camera that I have, which is like an actual camcorder about the size, and took VHS. And now we were looking for a couple of really specific things. Now, like I said, this hospital had been closed for forever, generations upon generations. Pretty much everybody in town had, or has even now, a story about this place. Either something that they experienced themselves or something that somebody, a friend or a family member, told them. So there was no shortage of, you know, word of mouth tales about this hospital. So we were specifically looking for a dead cat in the atrium. We were going to visit the morgue, and then we were going to visit the third floor, which was where the mental patients were mostly kept in isolation, the really, I guess, bad off ones. So that was our goal, was to do those things, those 3 things. If we saw anything else cool. So just to give you a little context on what the building was like. So it's actually 1, 2, 3 stories. So you have the ground floor, and then you had the upper floor, and then you have the basement, which was the morgue. So the 3rd level was really the 2nd story. But it's very long. It's very massive, winding hallways. At night, you can imagine how spooky that would be, especially when you're a teenager and you're hyped up and you're with your friends and you've already been talking about it and you've already, spooked yourself out. So we visited the atrium first. The atrium is like it's open to the elements, but it's enclosed. It looked like there used to be a garden there. There were trees, bushes, scraggly things, so leaves would get blown in and whatnot when you walked through there. But this is where the cat was supposed to be. And now the story of the cat, as it was told to me by an upperclassman when I was a freshman and first starting to hear about this rite of passage thing and getting excited that I was going to get to do it one day, is that this poor cat, an orange cat, was, hit by a car. Not killed, but injured severely, and he wandered into the haunted hospital, which was the closest building, so that he could, lay and die in peace. But his spirit got trapped with the rest of the spirits in the walls because of the energy of the building. And if you go there at night and you see the cat, you see him laying there, and his stomach is concaved inward, and he'll be there when you walk this way through the atrium. But when you come back, he will be gone. There will be no trace of this cat, as if he got up and walked away. So we wanted to see if we could find this and see if it was true and get the evidence on video. So we go to the atrium, we find it easy enough. It's right as you walk in. You turn right as you go through the door. You go through, I guess, what was the foyer, there was a desk, like a welcome desk or whatever, check-in desk. And then you walk through the atrium, and then you go into the 1st floor rooms for patients. And offices. So we walked into the atrium, and there is a cat. I kid you not. On video, laying there exactly as described, an orange tabby cat, large, with his stomach concaved in as if he had been run over by a car. Now, there was no blood, there was no death smell. It was open to the outside, but, it was almost like he had just died. So we get it on video. And then we're like, okay, we're going to go this way. We're going to go check out some offices, give him a minute, and then we'll come back and see if the cat is still here. So we go all the way through the atrium. We go into the hallway on the 1st floor. So we take it probably about 5 minutes. We poke our heads in some rooms. We see some beds. We find an office, and we kind of rifle through the papers that are left. And then we go back to the atrium. And we walk in there, and now we haven't separated. Number 1 rule of horror movies: you do not split up. And that was something that I told them we could not do. Plus I had the camera. So we didn't split up. We're all together. As far as we know, there's no one else in here. Homeless people may have squatted in there, but we didn't see, anybody or hear anybody that we would have thought was homeless. But I don't know. Anyway, so we get back, and the cat is gone. The atrium is completely empty. Now, granted, again, it is open to the elements. You could get in through the outside if you wanted to. Somebody could have come and moved it. We had talked about it around school. Everybody knew we were going, so somebody could have followed us and moved the cat. An animal could have come and drug it away, but there was no evidence of that. So we are ecstatic. We are experiencing the exact same things that everybody else who's been here said they experienced. The story is lining up. So now we decide to go to the basement next. Let's go. We are on fire. We're going to get to the morgue, and we're going to see some true paranormal activity. Because, of course, that is where the dead bodies were kept. So if I was an angry, vengeful, lingering ghost, I'd probably be there. So we go down to the morgue. And now this building is full brick from the time period it was built. So the steps are stone. Everything is pretty much stone. except for like there was some wood furniture, iron beds, things like that. But we go down these stone steps, and now it feels like, in my mind back then, it felt like walking into like an old catacomb or a tunnel. The steps were wide, the ceiling was low. It was very dark. There were only 5 of us, so we had my camera plus 2 flashlights. So that was the only light we had. It was very, very spooky walking down there. And as we descended, it started to get colder, like exceedingly colder. Now this is Georgia in the South in the summertime. So I had to have been 18 now that I say that, because it was really hot outside, which means it was getting close to the end of the year, which means I was already 18. So it's already like late spring, almost summertime. And it gets really hot in Georgia at night. So it's like muggy heat, but this was like cold. This was like, I wish I brought a jacket. Cold, which, you know, you go downstairs, it's basically underground. Of course there's going to be, you know, it's the temperature change, but to us, it was like, oh my God, it's cold because there's spirits down here. So we get to the morgue, and it's this big, heavy metal door, like heavy. Like it took 2 of us to open it, heavy. And so we go in, and it is, you know, the drawers on the walls, the silver metal drawers where they kept the bodies. They're all closed. The room is very dark. It's very shadowed. Again, the ceiling is very low. And then off to the side, there was like an old wooden desk and like a chair with the stuffing coming out, and then like an old dusty lamp that was like a reading lamp on the desk. And I remember it had a green shade. That was like the only real color in the room. I guess that's why that stood out to me. But anyway, so we go in, and as we're going into the room, maybe the darkness or the cold or the cat had already freaked out 2 of my friends. I love you guys, but they were the less brave of us. And so 2 of them decide to stay behind. They're like, we're not going in. We're not going in the morgue. We don't want to go in there. We don't want to do that. So, and then a 3rd one decides to stay behind them, so to speak. And so it's just me and my best friend. We go into the morgue. It's just us 2, me with my camera and, you know, him with the flashlight. We go in there, and, you know, we're looking around. I am more fascinated with the drawers. I'm over here commentating like some kind of a narrator on TV. I'm like, we're in the morgue in a haunted hospital, and this is where they kept the dead bodies, you know? And I'm thinking I'm going to open one of the drawers. That's what I'm leading up to, see what's in there, what's morbid, whatever. He's over there going through the desk, and he opens one of the drawers where they kept files and stuff, and he's like rifling through it in the background while I'm talking on camera. And then he's like, Laura, oh my God, you've got to come look at this. Come look at this. And I'm like, oh, what is it? What did you find? You know, so I'm turning away. I'm going back. The room is here. He's here. I'm here. The door is way over here behind us, and our friends are in the hallway, standing several feet away, close to the stairs in case they need to get away. Like, I can see everyone. No one is near the door. The air is very still down here. There's no electricity, no wind blowing, nothing like that. It's a very still night. But as I am crossing the room to get to him to see what he has found, so to speak, the door slams shut. Like hard, like boom, it's shut. And he and I freak out. We run at the door, and we're yanking on it, and it will not open. And we can hear our friends on the other side also trying to open it. They're banging and they're yelling, and we're banging and we're yelling. We're screaming and freaking out. And of course the tape is still going. So when we watched it later, it was very Blair Witch Project. But I mean, we struggled with it. I don't know. It felt like forever because I thought something was totally going to come out and get us, and we were about to die. And then all of a sudden the door just swings wide open, like hard enough to knock him and I both off of our feet. We scramble up and we run out and we tear up the stairs, and everybody's coming behind us. And back into the main atrium, and we get there and we're all breathing hard, and I am pissed now. Like, I'm safe, my adrenaline's going. I turn around, start yelling at my friends. I'm like, y'all, that was the stupidest prank you've ever played. You know, I probably said some bad words. I am pissed. How dare you lock us in there? How dare you scare us like that? And he's mad too. He's yelling at him. They're like, we didn't do that. We didn't touch the door. Like, we swear that we didn't do it. To this day, they swear they didn't touch the door, that it's shut by itself. And because we ran out of there, I, to this day, do not know what it was that he found, and he swears he doesn't remember. I have it on video, him saying, I need you to come look at this, but he swears he doesn't remember saying that. He doesn't remember what it was he found. So it's almost like he found something that something didn't want us to see or know. And so they made sure that we would not be able to look at it and that we wouldn't remember it. So at this point, we are considerably freaked out. Like, now we're scared. Maybe something doesn't want us here. So we actually skip the second floor on this trip and we leave. We leave like right then and like go back to my house, and we're like all huddled together and we're like, oh my God, something's after us. Light some candles, burn some sage. But so that was my experience at the haunted hospital. And it was a really cool experience because, it was very terrifying to be shut up in a morgue like that. Like, even if my friends did do it, it was just terrifying. So I do have more stories about the hospital, but I'm not going to share them today because this video is getting kind of long. Maybe I'll do a part 2 of the haunted hospital later down the road. But I would love to hear if you've had any experiences with ghosts or haunted places. If you've heard about this place, which you should have, it was on Ghost Hunters. At one point, they actually came down and did like a televised investigation, which was really cool for our house. I'm pretty sure the Georgia or Atlanta Paranormal Society has also come down and done haunts. Lots of paranormal societies have come down and everybody has found activity. Photographs have been taken, energy readings have been off the charts. But yeah, and so I'd love to hear about any experiences that you might have had, anything that you might think is happening in this hospital, reasons, history behind it that I may not know. Please share. I love the history behind folklore. And then if you would like to visit the haunted hospital, it is actually now an apartment building, where you can live. And I've actually spoken to a girl at our local grocery store who is new to the area and does actually live there. And she says that weird things happen all the time. Nothing super scary, but like her keys will be moved. Her doors will open and shut by themselves when she knows she shut them. Things will turn on and off. So if you are in the market for a roommate who is heard but not seen, you should check it out. But anyway, that is it for today's Spooky Southern Story Time. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you hit that like button, follow button, and please give me your haunting stories. I would love to share your personal experiences with ghosts. If you live in a haunted house, if you've lived in a haunted house, if you've had any kind of experiences. The South has no shortage of ghost stories, so I'll probably doing many more ghost story videos. And I would love to include some of yours in those videos. So please send me those DMs, comments on my website. You can send me an email. And I would just love to hear from you. But until then, stay spooky, boos.